When rock and roll queen Tina Turner opened up about getting married at 73, adding no one minded the bride's age. Tina Turner said no one at her wedding minded the bride was aged 73. The late private dancer-singer was overjoyed when she finally found love again with German music producer Erwin Bach, 67, following her abusive marriage to her former music partner Ike Turner, and married him at their home in Switzerland in 2013. She told in her brutally honest autobiography My Love Story about the big day. My wedding day could not have been more perfect or spectacular, and no one minded a bit that the bride was aged 73. I'd organized the whole thing myself, and that included importing more than 100,000 roses to bedeck the grounds of our home in Switzerland. As friends gathered, sipping champagne on that glorious day in July 2013, the air was filled with the most wonderful scent. She said about her choice of music at the event. A lot of thought had gone into my choice of wedding music. If you listen to Frank Sinatra's My Way, the words fit my life perfectly. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. I had to have that one. Despite my famously abusive first marriage to Ike Turner, I'd managed to find love beyond my wildest dreams. But she said about only agreeing to marry Erwin, who was by her side when she died aged 83 from natural causes last week after his second proposal. I just wanted to be with Erwin more and more. I wasn't looking for a husband. I just wanted to be loved. Childhood never loved. Past relationships never loved. My whole life never really loved. More than anything, I needed to feel that Erwin loved me. And he did. He really did. In 1989, when I was about to turn 50, he proposed. I felt good. I'd never smoked or taken drugs. I was still in good shape after 50 years of intensive stage workouts. I still looked pretty good too. In 2013, German Vogue asked me to be on its cover. I think I can safely say that, at 73, I was the oldest cover girl in Vogue's history at that point. The year before, Erwin had proposed once again, and this time I'd answered with an emphatic yes. It was a commitment that didn't come easily to me, but I knew he was the love of my life. Tina Turner fell in love with husband Erwin Bach when he delivered her a new Mercedes. Tina Turner fell in love with her husband Erwin Bach when he delivered her a new Mercedes as a present from her manager. The late private dancer-singer, who died on 24 May from natural causes at the Swiss compound she shared with German music producer Erwin, 67, first met him in 1985. 7 years after she finalized her divorce from her abusive first husband Ike Turner. She told in her astonishingly candid memoir My Love Story about Erwin, delivering an expensive thank you present on behalf of her manager Roger Davies, 71. That particular week in 1985, the next date on my tour was in Cologne, Germany. As my manager, Roger, and I flew into the city, I was tired and a little down, thinking of the grueling schedule ahead. We were walking through the airport when a young man stepped out from behind a column to greet us. I thought he might be a fan, but Roger greeted him warmly. Erwin Bach, an executive from EMI, my record company in Europe, had turned up to deliver a surprise gift to me from Roger, a new Mercedes Jeep, the hard-to-get G-Wagon. Tina added about immediately falling for Erwin. But the real surprise wasn't the car. It was the man. My heart suddenly started to beat boom, 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 drowning out all other sounds. My hands were ice cold. So this is what they call love at first sight. I thought, oh my god, I am not ready for this. But Tina said as Erwin gave her a lift to her hotel in the Mercedes to explain its features, she was suddenly riddled with insecurities. She added, suddenly, I felt very insecure about my looks. I was wearing an Issey Miyake sweater with leather jeans, rock and roll stuff, and my hair was big in those days. But if you ask me, I didn't look so good, and I doubt that Erwin found me attractive. Oh, and if the hair wasn't enough of a turnoff, I was 46, divorced and the mother of 2 sons and 2 stepsons, who were now practically men themselves. Tina added she later found out he had felt the same electrical charge as her, and they married in 2013, the same year he nursed her through a stroke, and 4 years before he donated one of his kidneys to the singer, to save her life after years of her battles with kidney problems that could have killed her before the transplant. Tina Turner's husband donated a kidney to her years before she died. Tina Turner, who died at age 83 after a long illness, had hypertension or high blood pressure, which affected her kidneys and required a life-saving kidney donation from her husband, Erwin Bach, in 2017. Turner once penned an essay for the Show Your Kidneys Love campaign, which spreads awareness about kidney disease. In the essay, Turner said for a long time she didn't realize the importance of treating her hypertension, and acknowledged she had put herself at great danger by refusing to accept the reality that I required daily medication for the rest of my life. She was first diagnosed with hypertension in 1978, but didn't care much about it, she said. Years later, in 2009, she had a stroke because she was not controlling her hypertension. She learned that her kidneys had lost 35% of their function. Chronic kidney failure is known as a silent killer because symptoms do not become noticeable until 80% of renal tissue is lost, Turner continued. As it happened to me, hypertension is one of the most frequent causes of kidney failure. She eventually started dialysis. It was my only option. But it was depressing to be connected to a machine for hours, she wrote. For the next 9 months, all my life was about dialysis. I realized that the struggle for healing is always also a struggle for accurate information. For people experiencing kidney failure, a transplant is often the treatment of choice, compared with a lifetime on dialysis. The Mayo Clinic explains, in about a third of cases, that involves a transplant from a living donor. That was the route Turner took, with help from her husband. I was lucky that Erwin offered to donate one of his kidneys to me. It was the first step to kidney transplantation, a very complex procedure, she wrote. Turner and Bach, German music executive, were together for 27 years before they married in 2013. They lived in Europe for decades, most recently at a home near Zurich, Switzerland. In her 2018 autobiography, Tina Turner, My Love Story, she wrote that Bach shocked me by saying that he wanted to give me one of his kidneys, the Associated Press reported. Turner added that she was overwhelmed by the enormity of his offer. Afterward, she described feeling overwhelmed and relieved that we'd come through this alive. But in the months following the transplant, she said she experienced a never-ending series of ups and downs as her body tried to reject the new organ, which can happen after such procedures. Every so often this required more hospital admissions, she said. I kept feeling nauseous and dizzy, forgot things, and was scared a lot. These problems are still not quite resolved. I am on multiple prescriptions and take great care to follow my doctor's orders meticulously, for I know that I can trust them in their therapies. One of Turner's recent Instagram posts, just a couple of months before her death, was a partnership with Show Your Kidneys Love for International World Kidney Day on March 9th, to raise awareness for kidney health. In another Instagram post from 2021, Turner gave insight into how her relationship with Bach began. When I first asked Erwin out, it was a spur-of-the-moment decision. Sometimes seconds change your life, because you feel a spark, an instant connection, she wrote, sharing a black and white photo of them embracing. Tina Turner's stroke left her with no strength or vitality. The same year she married her second husband, Tina Turner was hit by a stroke she compared to a lightning bolt, which also robbed her of her voice. Tina Turner's stroke hit her like a lightning bolt and robbed her of her voice. The late What's Love Got to Do with It singer's death was announced on 24 May, after she had spent years battling potentially fatal illnesses, including kidney issues, that ended with her husband Erwin Bach, 67, donating one of his kidneys in a transplant operation in 2017. Tina said in her tell-all memoir My Love Story about how her stroke hit in 2013, the same year she married music producer Erwin, after spending years getting over her abusive marriage to Ike Turner. You know that wonderful expression, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. On an ordinary October morning in 2013, just 3 months after our glorious wedding, I woke up and felt a lightning bolt strike my head and right leg. I tried to speak, but I couldn't get any words out. I was having a stroke. The stroke had delivered a powerful blow to my body. My entire right side was numb. I'd have to work with a physiotherapist to learn how to walk again, the doctor told me, and using my right hand would be a problem. But the psychological effects were even more profound. I was miserable. The battle for recovery left me with no strength or vitality. Tina added about how she was then struck by more kidney problems and cancer. I wasn't just dealing with the aftermath of the stroke. My doctor was concerned that my high blood pressure might be affecting my kidneys, so he referred me to a specialist. A doctor discovered her kidneys were performing at only 35% of their normal function, and Tina was prescribed medication she said left her convinced were making me feel less clear-headed and energetic. She added, not long after this blow, my health began to fail again. I became so weak that I couldn't leave the house. It took all my strength to stagger between bedroom and bathroom. This time, I was diagnosed with early-stage intestinal cancer, a carcinoma, and several malignant polyps. As I waited for surgery, I cried to Erwin, aren't you sorry you married an old woman? Fortunately for me, he always radiated confidence, optimism and joie de vivre, and helped me to keep calm. A month after my diagnosis, I had part of my intestine removed. The doctors were optimistic, and I felt a glimmer of hope again. After medics found her kidneys were at a new low of 20%, Tina's life was saved by Erwin, donating one of his to keep her alive.